Got a question for you, bro. After you
Shoot,
die, what happens?
I don't know.
What do you think happens?
I don't know.
Will your soul end up in heaven or hell?
I don't know.
The Bible tells you how to go to heaven. You ever heard that before?
Why do you think the Bible's true?
There's a couple of reasons you can know the Bible is true. Go on Google, type in Bible archaeology. It's not just made up stories, it's a bunch of real things that actually happen. There's other ways you can
Okay.
know. Life's change of people that read it. Go on YouTube, type in testimonies of Christianity. You can see people that were drug addicts, homeless, whatever, reading the
Okay.
Bible, making peace with God, changing their lives. Prophecies. Go on Google, type in Bible prophecies that came true. There's hundreds of
Okay.
prophecies about Jesus coming to life, dying for our sins, rising again. Jesus himself was a
Okay.
real historical figure. There's just a couple of
Okay, so we
things.
got three reasons. Archaeology, prophecy, and what was that third one? Oh,
Testimonies.
right. Testimony, right.
The Bible itself.
Okay, so if you would say that you're 100% confident that this is true?
Of course.
Okay. And okay, so if we were to take that 100% and pie chart it, which one of these three reasons would contribute most to your confidence?
Confidence doesn't come from human reasoning, it comes from God himself. You can ask God for the truth and he'll show it to you because he is the source of truth.
I'm asking you, how did you conclude that God exists?
When I was a young man,
And
I
you
was
gave three reasons.
when I was a young man, I was an addict with no way out. I heard the gospel on a TV program. I realized that it was talking about me. I realized I was a sinner and I couldn't overcome my sin myself. I realized that Jesus was God. He died for my sins and he rose again. I went into my bathroom. I got on my knees and I said, God, I can't I can't save myself. I'm calling upon you. Save me. Change my life. Right then and there, I sensed the power of God in my spirit. I sensed that I was free. There's no other way to describe it. And from then on, God changed my life. I'm not saying I was perfect. I'm just saying that something happened, and slowly God started to teach me about himself. And that's how it all started.
Okay, so you prayed and you had a feeling.
Trusted God.
Okay,
The Bible calls it being born again.
okay. If we had a Muslim pray and feel God,
A Muslim and a
or a
Mormon,
Hindu,
they believe their writings are different than the Bible. They teach the opposite. They can't both be true at the same time. For instance, a Muslim will say that Allah is the greatest of deceivers. That's what's written in the Quran 434. But the Bible itself, it says that God cannot lie. The two cannot be the same or true at the same time. Just one example.
if you're using like personal experience to conclude that God is real, and then we have like a Hindu who's using his personal experience to conclude that his gods are real, what does that say about personal experience
Personal experience is
as
one of many ways, but objective truth, asking God himself who created everything, is the best way to start. Say, God, look, I'm out of sincerity wanting to know what the truth is. If you're the source of truth, show me. It's as simple as that.
oh, so we pray and ask and then he'll show you?
Of course.
Okay. Dude, if a Christian is praying to God to ask for guidance or something, and then another believer of a different faith is asking their God for something, I don't see how that gets us anywhere.
Go on YouTube. There's testimonies of people living in the jungle. There's testimonies of people living in Islamic countries. They're asking God for the truth. He shows them in a dream. They meet a missionary, or they go and find the truth on the internet. Now that they have access to the internet, their lives change. It's an amazing time to be alive.
Okay, so if we had someone convert from Christianity to Muslim, then what?
It happens all the time, but most of the time, pretty much every time actually, they were never born again. They were just following rules and religion like Catholicism, and they just switched from one set of rules to another set of rules. They never had a relationship with God.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. You have a lot of great questions. How do you think we got here?
I don't know.
Well, there's four main ways of how the earth came to be. Have you heard that before?
No.
Four main most popular views is one is that the world is an illusion. The second one is that eternity is forever. The third is the Big Bang, and the fourth is the God view. The first, the
Okay.
universe is an illusion. That's like Buddhism, Hinduism, can be summed up in that way. But the thing about that is, in order to know what an illusion is, you have to know what it is not. You have to compare it to something. You have to compare it to reality. So if you go to a magic show, you see a guy taking a rabbit out of a hat. You're like, wow, that's amazing. That shouldn't be happening. It's magic. You have to compare it to reality to know that it's an illusion in the first place. That's where the whole idea of I think, therefore I am comes from. That's how we know a reality isn't an illusion. The second view is that the universe is eternal. The problem with that is we know that time exists. Things tend to age. We can measure in the universe aging, radiation, different things like that. All kinds of research on it. The third view is the Big
Okay.
Bang. Energy blast happens, and here we are. Problem with that is the origin of the energy. Where did it come from? The other issue with that is you cannot have life from non-life. You don't get life from energy. Life comes from other living things. You can't talk to a fire. You can't talk to a lightning bolt.
Okay.
Life does not come from non-life. That's always been the issue at the Big Bang. The last one is the God view. So something outside of time, space, and matter created time, space, and matter. We are inside of time, space, and matter. That's all that we know. That's all that we can know, because that is like the box for us. But outside of that is where God exists. God as a spirit is outside of time, space, and matter. That's the only way time, space, and matter could be created. You can't create yourself, so to say. You can't be within it. And that view.
Okay, so you're saying that God is like the necessary being for everything to come up from.
I'm saying out of the options that are out there, that is the main one. Yes.
Okay.
So from there,
Um.
we can observe the universe around us to determine
Mhm.
which view of God is true and which view of God is not true. So if God is outside of
Ooh.
time, space, and matter, if he created time and space, he has to be supernatural. He has to be powerful. He has to be eternal, meaning outside of time. He has to be omnipresent, meaning he created space, but he's not limited by it. He's timeless and changeless. He's outside of time. He's immaterial because he transcends the material. And on and on and on. Now you go and you look at all the world religions and you compare that observation with what those world religions say, and very quickly you can eliminate most of them. But the
Okay,
Bible,
so we have an explanation of how everything came to be, and you're saying it's God.
yes, I'm saying that's the most reasonable explanation out of all the ones that mankind has come up with.
Okay. If you're
Listen,
just defining God as what is like outside of nature and stuff,
time, space, and matter.
time, space, and matter,
Outside of time, space, and matter.
outside of that,
Yes.
everything, all of that comes from God.
Something outside of that has to make that happen.
That makes sense.
Uh-huh. Listen, you sound like a smart guy. You sound like a guy that reads and thinks a lot. You ever? I wanna well, just tell you the name of a book, or even send it to you if you'll allow me. It's called One Heartbeat Away. Have you heard that before?
What is it called?
One Heartbeat Away.
100 feet away.
No, One Heartbeat Away.
Oh, 1 heartbeat away.
If you give me your email address, I'll email it to you in a PDF for free, or you can look for it on the internet. It's about basically where we came from and what happens after we die. It's really interesting. I think you'd like it.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the search bar.
I don't know if you can find it. You might have to pay for it if you look for it on the internet, but I can send you a free version. You can either give me your email or you can email me. There's my email. I'll send it to you. You can look at it or delete it, whatever you want to do. I just want to make sure that you know about it because you sound like a smart guy.
Deus War.
Yep.
Okay.
If you email me, I'll log in my email right now and send it to you.
I get into like the historical evidence for the resurrection.
Uh-huh.
That's what convinces me.
Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff. There's a lot of things out there. Case for Christ,
I
Lee
got
Strobel.
these two books here. Well, have you heard of Gary Habermas and not Mike Lacona, but that other guy, Mike Winger?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah. I got this book. That's
Well,
pretty good.
yeah, man, you sound like a big reader then. That's great. Have you liked this book then? I don't know if you can find it, or if you want to email me, I'll send it to you.
Is it by Mark Cahill?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I found it.
Full thing?
Yeah.
Great, man. I think you'd like that.
Cool.
What do you consider yourself? Are you an atheist, agnostic, religious person? Where are you at?
You seem to be like a William Lane Craig. Have you heard of him?
I have, yeah.
Okay, a lot of the arguments that you're using, it seems something that he would use.
I'm just a jumble of all kinds of reading of lots of different stuff, so he has some good stuff, he has some bad stuff.
The argument that you used for, or like how you said, timeless, spaceless, immaterial.
Yeah, it comes from Genesis 1:1 in the Bible. Genesis 1:1 in the Bible. What was that?
That was my sibling.
Alright. Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth," and that's where it all comes from.
Okay.
So are you an atheist or agnostic or religious, or what would you say? Seeking?
Yeah, I would say seeking.
Gotcha. Skeptic maybe?
I'd say seeking. Yeah, okay. Have you ever heard of, this is something that's been stumping me up. Have you ever heard of straight epistemology?
I don't think so.
That's something that's been really, you can YouTube that and check that out, because that's something that's been really,
Street epistemology.
yeah.
Just like people on the
Um,
street talking to each other about God.
yeah.
Oh, epistemology is some really cool stuff. Have you heard of Beyond the Fundamentals before?
No?
He talks about epistemology a lot, and
Is that a YouTube channel, or?
yep,
Okay.
you might like that.
Alright. One of my favorite people to watch debate is Matt Dillahunty. Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's had some good days
Okay,
and bad days, right?
right. Uh, uh, what do you think about him? Like, what?
He's got some really interesting stuff, but he debated a guy named Cy Ten. You heard of Cy Ten before a long time ago?
Cy 10?
Yeah,
No.
Cy Ten versus Matt Dillahunty or whatever.
Okay.
If you watch that debate, it's really quite interesting. He's had he used to be like unstoppable at one time, that Matt Dillahunty, but in recent times there's been a couple of people that have just debated him and he just kind of lost it. He got really super angry with them. I don't know if you've seen some of those, but
He does get
he's,
pretty.
he got kind of frustrated when some people were calling him on some different things. And I don't know, I mean, when it comes to human reasoning, it's endless. you know Man's wisdom is limited. You can only know so many things. You can always find a argument that defeats another argument, and it's always back and forth. That's why we need to go outside of human reasoning and go to God beyond us to ask for truth, something outside of us. Somebody said it this way, like if all human knowledge of the universe for all time was gathered together and compared to the knowledge of the total knowledge of the universe, it would be like 1%, if even, of all the knowledge that's out there. Outside of that 1%, the other 99% is where God is. There's even more. It's this unlimited knowledge, unlimited wisdom outside of what we can know. That's the amazing thing about unlimited. Something that's beyond time, space, and matter, that is unlimited, that is all powerful. When you start to think about it that way and tap into that, that's the truly amazing thing.
Okay, so you remember, I don't, I think it was Jacob who went to this branch or something. I don't know. Anyway, he wanted all the spotted ones or the solid goats, and so he made like a stick. He put a stick in the ground and he made a female goat look at it so she would give birth to striped
Yeah.
goats or whatever. So like, what's up with that, man? How can I believe something like that happened, or like a stick turning into a snake or something?
You have to look at that thing itself and read it in the Bible, and there's a reason why he did that, to separate the weak and the strong goats. But stuff like snakes turning into, or like a staff turning into a snake, it comes down to your world view. If your worldview is limited by human reasoning, in the sense that something like that could never happen, or a worldview that does not allow for the supernatural, then it's always going to be hard to believe. But if your worldview allows for the supernatural, God uh, can do anything in that regard. But God also is the God of reason. He sets up reason as well. So there's a balance. He doesn't do a logical thing, so to say, like square, circle, or whatever.
Just doesn't make any sense to me, man. It doesn't.
That's okay.
You have a stick, turn it into a snake, and
Do you believe in the supernatural, that it's possible? Like UFOs and all this kind of stuff that's out there? Ghosts, whatever?
okay, so the evidence for the resurrection, that's a supernatural event, and so if I accept that, then I have no problem accepting that some dude got swallowed by a whale or a stick turned into a snake or whatever.
It comes down to the worldview. Like, what does your worldview allow? That's the hard thing for a lot of people.
I don't want to say that because I want, or I want whatever it is. Like, if my worldview doesn't allow for the supernatural, then I'm more inclined to not recognize the supernatural or something.
See, when you
Or like
embrace
I'll miss out on it if it is indeed true.
if
I
you
have the
there's a true fear too that if you embrace the supernatural, then you're just throwing all logic out the window and just being, like medieval wackiness, which there is some of that out there with flat Earth and all this wild things that people are proposing. But within Christianity, there's a balance of reason, tradition, and faith, so to say. That's kind of what separates the denominations. Some are more reason oriented, some are more faith oriented, and some are more tradition oriented.
what should convince somebody, or like what arguments are not fallacious in any way? What should convince somebody? I like the argument that um, God has to be immaterial, spaceless, and timeless, and then is the creator of all those things.
Yeah, if you go on Google, you can type in like the top arguments for God. I'm trying to think of this one guy, that famous atheist that died not too long ago.
Christopher Hitchens?
Yeah, he said that there was one argument for God that he just couldn't wrap his head around. That was the best one. It was something of, I can't remember the name of it. It was like timing or something like that. Some kind of a timing argument. I mean, if you go to Google and type in best arguments for God, I mean, I'm sure you'll come up with a list of them. I don't know. I don't put too much time into these kind of mental arguments. I think if you want to know the truth, you just go to the source directly and ask for the truth. If God is the source of truth and he wants a relationship with us, it should be reasonable to ask him directly to show us the truth. And of course, you said yourself, I mean, Jesus is probably one of the biggest ones, one of the biggest proofs out there.
Yeah, if I had, okay, I think out of all the religions, Christianity would be the one. But I'm about like 95% confident that Christianity is true because the resurrection, we can get so close to it historically, and then just
Yeah.
However, I keep that 5% open because it's possible that I might, in my search, discover something that
Yeah, I mean, it
makes that unreasonable or something.
sounds like you've read a lot about it. You probably heard A Great Case for Christ before by Lee Strobel.
Yeah.
That's probably what maybe even started it, but yeah.
We know he existed. We know he claimed to be God. We know he was buried. And we know the tomb was empty. and all the naturalistic explanations just fall flat.
Well, the apostles as well, they were just pretty much simple everyday working guys. They weren't intellectuals or anything heavy like that, and they pretty much changed the world. And they all died, saying that that was true. Eyewitnessing, they were most of them were tortured in terrible ways. So there's some other things like that that are just, I don't know, amazing.
Right. Okay.